The pioneer diggers were an excitable bunch. Even when they were settled on a good claim and winning solid returns from their prospecting, they were always on the lookout for the next big gold strike. Rumours of new finds would inevitably see hordes of gullible miners packing up and rushing off into the wilds to be the first on the new field. All too often, the rumours were just that, wild goose chases, and the disappointed diggers drifted back to their original claims. Often, though, someone else would have taken over their claim so that they lost all the advantages they'd had before. Such ill-fated ventures were called duffer rushes. One of the most notorious duffer rushes on the Otago goldfields occurred at Tuapeka in late 1861. A report was spread that a big new find had been made in the Blue Mountains of West Otago. Since Gabriel Reid was known to have gone prospecting there at Pomahaka, many assumed that the man who had set off the original Tuapeka rush had struck it lucky a second time. When news of this story reached Gabriel Reid, he promptly wrote a letter to the newspaper denying it, but arrived too late. By then, 3,000 miners had already upped stakes and headed westwards towards Beaumont, where they crossed the Clutha River in small groups in a primitive boat rigged up for that purpose. They were following Sam Perkins, a man who claimed to know exactly where the new strike had been made and volunteered to lead the way. Now, the diggers had good reason to follow Sam. He was an old whaler who'd been in Otago since the 1830s and definitely knew his way around. But what they didn't know was he was a notorious liar and storyteller. It seems that he may have been in cahoots with a local storekeeper who had hired out his dray to carry the diggers' gear and paid Sam in liquor to encourage the rush. So he led them a merry old chase through the Blue Mountains, a hot and dusty 2-day journey down to Tuapeka that gradually saw his following reduced to just 500 men. Sam's plan was likely to bolt before his deception was discovered. But he hadn't counted on the beady eyes of his by now suspicious retinue or the growing tension as it became clear there was no gold to be discovered here. He led them to an isolated gully nearby and made a run for it. But he was quickly caught, dragged back, and they held an impromptu trial among the diggers with calls for him to be lynched on the spot. Fortunately, Sam was instead given 24 lashes and had his hair and beard shaved. Next morning, he was handed over to mounted troopers. Back in Dunedin, he was properly tried and sentenced to 4 months' imprisonment for false pretences. There's a spot near here known as Sam's Grief after that long ago drama, and it would have been a long, lonely trudge back through the mountains to Gabriel's Gully to face an uncertain future for the diggers. I think Sam was lucky to get away with his life. Sadly, he's believed to have drowned back here in the Mataura River a few months after he was released from jail.